welcome to the Crypto Kids Talk. I'm Benjamin Wong, your co-host.
And I am Kamea Lafontaine, also known as the CryptoCoinKid, and I am I'm a YouTuber, author of the Spy Network, and I am your other co-host.
We're super excited for this show. Both of us are really in deep with this whole NFTs and crypto thing. Kamea has been doing crypto since how old were you when you started doing crypto?
I started when I was about 8 years old, back in 2017.
Yeah, in 2017. How much was the price of like Bitcoin at the time?
Well, Bitcoin recently was it was like super low. The lowest it dipped to was 3,000 during the bear market, but now it's worth like 65,000.
Yeah. So this guy's been in it like forever, and I'm just getting to the whole NFT thing. I love it. I'm a sports card guy, comic book guy. Always loved those kind of things, and so I love that those digital ownership. But every week, me and Kamea, we're going to be talking about what's new with crypto and NFTs. Also, what you guys all need to know out there, whether you're a kid who wants to get into this, kid who wants to buy their first NFT, someone who wants to make a quick buck flipping Bitcoin or ETH, and we're gonna do some explainers too, and also some fun hot takes.
Yeah, it's gonna be super fun. I'm excited to do this.
So I guess we can start off with talking a little bit about what this whole thing is, because even the words we're using, crypto, NFTs, can be confusing. I was so confused about this up until like 5-6 weeks ago. Camille, what
Yeah.
is the blockchain, which this whole thing is kind of based around?
Well, before I start talking about the blockchain, I want to identify the actual problems that the blockchain was trying to solve. So, first of all, the internet was not built to be secure. It's not secure. People get hacked
Yeah,
all the time, and security was one of the things that blockchain tried to fix. Second was censorship, because whenever you solutions like that being censored, it's hard to speak freely without being censored on the internet because people just control it. They can even ban people on Twitter. It's just harder. And third would be digital scarcity and ownership is another thing that blockchain was trying to solve. And next is privacy. There sometimes it's not pseudonymity. It's harder to be private on the internet because people always monitor your data. Companies always try to monitor your data.
yeah,
That's another thing the not Bitcoin blockchain was trying to solve. And finally, it was centralization. And the thing about that is that not everything is bad when it's centralized, but just some things can be bad when they're centralized. So, how blockchain actually solved security was it made more secure transaction protocol to share data and money, and it's just a lot more safe. There's no middlemen. It's just you directly with the other person agreeing that this transaction is true, that it is not false. Second, censorship resistant. Your data transfers and transactions can't be blocked by a central party. Whenever you try to make a transaction, it won't be blocked by the government or anything like that. It's on the blockchain, no one controls it. Next is digital scarcity and ownership. Bitcoin, it's scarce. There's only it started off, there's only 21 million Bitcoin, no more, no less. And it essentially gets rid of the double spend problem because on the internet, people could just copy and
yeah,
paste something and then they would just have it. Like they would always, I'm pretty sure
right,
my parents talked to me about something like Napster, something like that, and you could literally just download
yeah,
any MP3 files
yeah,
on that for free, and the little idea of having scarce things was like all gone. And that's what blockchain solves with NFTs, which we'll talk later about. NFTs are non-fungible tokens, and they are only one. There's only a couple of them. You can't copy and paste them because it's your wallet, and that verifies you own it. Next, privacy, how it actually solves it. It creates a default of pseudonymity. Like you literally can't put your personal information on that. You have a random wallet address. You can't put any personal information on that. And it's just much safer because people just don't try to monitor your data. That's why sometimes when you're trying to do a transaction, people always want to get the history. They want to know everything about you. And yeah, privacy was a big
yeah,
problem that people had, and blockchain solved that. And finally, centralization. the thing blockchain was trying to solve, removes the middlemen, it removes the need of that. It's just you and the cryptocurrency. It's just a line of code. People can't interfere with it. It's just that. It's just a line of code that's executed to run when it starts, and it reduces transaction fees, controls fairness, etc. And that's were the problems of what the blockchain was trying to solve.
So it's basically kind of like a better internet that's also kind of taking away
Yeah.
power from from the people who control like banks and
Mm.
social media companies, and then kind of just distributing that back to the people, right?
Yes. Exactly.
When was this
That's
whole idea created?
well, it's been actually around for a while, but it's Bitcoin has been one of the most. It was the most truly successful application of money on a blockchain. There has been multiple different tries, but Bitcoin was truly the first successful one, and it just was built on the thing the pseudonymous creator Satoshi Nakamoto. He made it in 2009. No one knows who he is. It could be a group of people. No one knows, and it was the just the first successful blockchain implemented form of exchange, and that's why Bitcoin is now like it's the number one cryptocurrency out there.
So we understand the idea of blockchain, right? It's like distributing power. It's solving all of these problems that the internet once had and that it still has today. And we hear all about these cryptocurrency. I'm sure that's how a lot of people got involved in this, is hearing about Dogecoin, Shiba Inu,
Yeah.
Bitcoin, Ethereum. Where does that fit in to the whole blockchain?
Well, as I was saying, blockchain crypto fits into the blockchain because it's literally the thing that was built on Bitcoin. You have to agree, a bunch of nodes have to agree in order for a transaction to go through. And each crypto uses a different form. They can use it in different ways. Like Bitcoin, it was just solely used as a store of value. It's just a form of exchange. Whereas Ethereum, it was actually made to be a whole entire platform on the blockchain where people could build their own projects on it called ERC20s. And yeah, every single cryptocurrency has a different way of using the blockchain, but those are just a few examples of how crypto uses the blockchain and how it fits into that.
Okay, that makes sense. And for example, I'll compare it to like stocks and bonds, right? I'm sure we've all heard of
Yeah.
that. When you buy a stock, you're buying kind of like a certificate that you own a part of the company. When you buy a Bitcoin or when you buy one ETH, what is that physically? Is it like a number? Is it a digital certificate that you get? What do you get when you buy something like that?
Well, when you buy the Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency, it goes to your account or wallet, and that is yours. No one else can interfere unless they have your wallet address. You get to choose what you can do with that. And it's not necessarily similar to the stock market, as it's like owning a small part of a business. There's a limited amount of cryptocurrencies, and they're all fungible. You can trade out one Bitcoin for another Bitcoin. It's the exact same thing. And that's where non fungible tokens are different than that because there's only a couple of them and you can only trade them out. You can't just trade them out for other NFTs. But Bitcoin actually, once you buy a Bitcoin, it's in your account and you can trade that. Some people actually are starting to accept Bitcoin as actual payment. When you buy it, it's
Yeah.
a Mm. And it just goes into your account and you can use that for what you want. You can trade it back for different cryptocurrencies. That is essentially what happens when you buy a cryptocurrency.
And I personally, I know you're big on crypto. I love the whole
Mhm.
NFT part of it. Like I said, I have, sports cards in my drawer. Like, and I've always loved Funko Pops and things like that. So NFTs are just so cool to me. What
Mhm.
what is it about NFTs that are making them sell for millions of dollars?
Well, NFTs have always intrigued me because games like Roblox, Minecraft have always been like using digital tokens. And when I heard about
Yeah.
NFTs being sold for like $69 million, it was just amazing to me that people can make this like
Yeah.
JPEG or PNG online and sell it for all that money. And while people may phrase it like that, it's actually much more than that. People take value into their work, and
Yeah.
maybe it's like a Doge picture that you like, and then you buy it for like 0.01 ETH. It's because whenever you buy it, it gives a sense of uniqueness whenever you buy that thing, because you know that you own that thing. And the ability to be unique is something that many people really want. And
Yeah.
it gives them a sense of like they're proud. Oh, I truly own this. No one else can have it. I have
Yeah.
this thing. I used my own money and I bought this, and literally no one else can trade it. Like if you have a Bitcoin, someone else can get a Bitcoin and they have the exact same thing as you. Whereas an NFT can't be traded for another NFT. Like, oh, I'll trade my CryptoPunk for like your CryptoKitty. It's not the exact same thing, and
Yeah.
that's why people really appreciate the value, and that's why it's like millions of dollars are spent buying these NFTs, because it gives a sense of
Yeah.
uniqueness and investing in the future creators.
And just for a lot of you out there who are getting started in this whole NFT space, there's going to be so much talk about things like CryptoPunks and VFriends. Those are just kind of like the blue chip NFTs, kind of like
Yeah.
how Amazon and Microsoft and Apple are generally good companies.
Mm.
Like they're probably not going to go out of business. Same thing with
Yeah.
VFriends and CryptoPunks and CryptoKitties. So a lot of people also last piece of jargon that we're going to cover before we get into the news, but they talk about web 1, web 2, web 3. Can you
Mm.
tell me about what's the difference between web 2 and web 3?
Well, the difference between Web 2 is it was kind of like the writable phase of the web. It was kind of like social media was Web 2. Whereas Web 3 is kind of like where the actual execution happens. It's when you can actually use that and actually make money and do all that stuff. And it's been changing over time. Like there's been like r- Web 1 where you can only read stuff. Web 2 is where you can like speak with other
Yeah.
people. And then Web 3 is where you can actually do things like MetaMask, Bitcoin, Tether is all Web 3 stuff. Actually buying things on the internet is also Web 3. And those are the main differences between Web 2 and Web 3. It's changing from social media to essentially the metaverse, where you can do multiple different things online.
I like to think of it as like web 1 was users, so me and you, consume information from
Mm.
producers, and then web 2 was users consume information from other users, and or I
Yes.
guess do transactions. So users interact with information. Web 2 users interact with other users, and then web 3 users interact with other users on user controlled platforms. That's a pretty good way of thinking
Yes.
about it, right?
Yeah, that's a really good way of thinking
So
about it.
so let's get into web 2 and web 3. And we know web 2, the biggest guys out there, Twitter, Facebook, are kind of starting to adopt the whole blockchain, crypto,
Hmm.
NFT idea. And seeming as we're recording on the 28th or the 29th, 28th it is, Facebook today just announced that they're going to be renaming the entire company to Meta. Tell me about that. What's the significance?
Well, I think that like Mark Zuckerberg, he's said before, like back in like May, like earlier 2021, he wants to create his own metaverse with the internet, and he wants to change from like just being a social media company owning Instagram, Facebook, and he just wants to make a parent company. Facebook's not changing his name, Instagram's not changing his name, it's going to stay the same, but he wants to build the parent company of the metaverse, where he can go from and branch out to more things like Oculus, using VR. Um, Even Roblox is making metaverse games to play in, and he's trying to build more utility with that in the his own metaverse that he's going to be creating, possibly with his VR headsets, where you can buy things online. You have your own wallet, maybe that can be crypto, and it's honestly really awesome in my opinion.
I have seen an article open about it. He said how, today we're seen as a social media company, but in our DNA we're a company that builds technology to connect people. And I love the whole metaverse idea. It's kind of like, have you ever read the book Ready Player One or watched the
Yeah.
movie?
Yes, I've
It's
watched
like
Ready
it's
Player One.
crazy. Like I watched that movie. I watched that movie 2 years ago. I read the book a year ago, and it's like we talked about how crazy it was in class and like why it's unbelievable how people are spending so much time here and why it's so sad that the world was so messed up that and it's just so interesting that now the metaverse is becoming something that's very feasible within the next few years. And he talked about how his metaverse in Facebook wants to be more than just work or more than just gaming or more than just social interaction. Uh, but of course, just like Facebook can do a lot of stuff, the main feature that people use it for is posting and engaging with their friends.
Hmm.
With this new Facebook metaverse, what do you think is going to be the main use case?
I think maybe inside that he could do. I don't necessarily know much. I don't know what he might do with it, but I think generally he might try to make like a whole entire digital world. Maybe Facebook could be a place you could go to that digital world, maybe connect with people. There could be another place, maybe like a shop. Maybe you could get some partnerships with some companies and get their merch in there, maybe some influencers. There's like a lot of opportunity in that. Like there's different worlds. Instead of being in this one world, it's like a whole universe, the metaverse. And there's a lot of opportunities that can be happening with this. But I honestly think that's what might happen. There's gonna be digital tokens, definitely. I think
Yeah.
that and that there's all going to be all
Is it
this
going to be
stuff. Huh?
Libra, Facebook's cryptocurrency, or is it going to be something like ETH or Bitcoin?
I think probably Facebook is going to choose their own currency inside their own digital world, but it would be really awesome if they use cryptocurrency in there.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I have a picture right now. It's super cool. It's of like Mark Zuckerberg. He in the event he created like an avatar of him that looks like so cool, and it's so interesting.
Yeah.
Like I was telling my little sister how she's 12, and how
Hmm.
by the time she gets to my age, she can literally go upstairs to her room and then go with all her friends to Disneyland, or the metaverse equivalent of Disneyland. And like that's just
Mm.
so amazing what they can do with it.
Yeah.
And I also read something else about how just like Facebook isn't the only social media, just like Chrome isn't the only browser. Do you think
Yes.
Facebook is going to be the metaverse, or do you think it's going to be a metaverse?
I think that maybe Facebook might be the first metaverse, but it's definitely not going to be the only metaverse. Like people are going to keep building their own metaverses, their own communities with people. Like a really good book that I really like is called Snow Crash, and it was written back in the 1980s, and it's about this digital world where you could work digital jobs and actually get paid for it. And it's
Huh.
really cool how they kind of like predicted this like 40 years ago, and it's actually coming into action like now. And yeah, to answer your question, no, Facebook will not be the only metaverse. There's going to be multiple other metaverses in there with their own currency, their own people, different avatars. And I'm really excited to see what these people can make. And I'm excited to be a part of my own metaverse.
I don't have an exact date on when they're going to start, hopefully release this thing. And by the time they release it and it becomes mainstream, chances are a lot of people listening here are going to be adults. But how would this affect, the kids of the future, the kids who are 6, 7, 8 right now? How will this world where half of everything is on Facebook's meta or other metaverses, how will this affect them?
I think it's definitely going to heavily affect them, like how when we were younger, we had like digital games, whereas our parents, they didn't have all this stuff. They had like box TVs and all that stuff. It's going to be much different than how we're living now. That's something I can guarantee. Something that we do daily now is probably going to be way different in like 10, 20, 30 years to come. And I think that the future generations are going to live in this world where everything is online. People are going to work online. People are going to do all that stuff. And I have two little sisters. They're 6 and 7, and it's affects what they think is cool. Like maybe learning how to dance was cool or something. And the things that are going to be cool in the future are going to definitely
Yeah.
change dramatically. and people are just going to have to find out how to fit in. And the other thing that's cool about the metaverse is that people can create their whole new identity in the net metaverse. Like it's going to be a lot more inclusive. It's going to be very nice, and I honestly think it's going to heavily affect the future of all these the future generations, but I think it can be for the good.
Do you worry that, just like in Ready Player One, a little recap for those of you who haven't watched it or read it. I think that book is gonna be like take off somewhat because it's like kind of here's my prediction here that in like 5 years that book's gonna be I don't know what to compare it to, but just imagine a book that talked about internet 50 years ago.
Hmm.
It's gonna be something like that. But for those of you who haven't read it, it's a novel. It's like an entertainment
Yeah.
story, and it was talking about basically how the entire world fell apart, and then now everyone does everything online because the world is kind of inhospitable for most people. Do you think that, especially now when the world is kind of falling apart, where all our billionaires want to go to space, Elon Musk, it's his
Yeah.
personal mission to go to space, and basically people are doing everything they can to get off Earth, whether it's virtually or via space travel. Do you think the world's going to kind of fall apart, or is there a future where they can coexist?
I think both both are definitely possible. Like the people that are going to build the next metaverses are definitely going to be important. Like a lot of people currently don't trust Mark Zuckerberg. That's why Libra didn't really get that
Yep.
successful. But the other thing is that people will eventually have to get used to that. The world could definitely, it could be so extreme. It could definitely fall apart because of all of this. But yet again, it could also change the world for better with the people, their positivity, all the stuff that they could change with the world. But it's honestly, I'm, I don't know the future, but I hope it's for the better.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine having a world where you can't go outside and breathe in fresh air, where you have to
Yeah.
literally be so confined to like a VR headset or whatever. I'm cautiously optimistic that there's going to be a way that we can interact with the real world virtually, whether it's AR, augmented reality, or finding ways to link the real world to the metaverse. Because
Yeah.
I just can't imagine a world where we don't have this. Another thing that I found so interesting about this whole thing is Mark Zuckerberg, right? We're talking about a guy who's an
Yeah.
introvert. No offense to him, a little weird, a guy who people labeled a lizard, a robot, a
Yeah.
cyborg, who is quite socially awkward, extremely introverted. Some people don't think he's a human, yet he understands human attention so much. He was the first
Mhm.
major social media platform. He was the guy who hopefully will pioneer a metaverse, which people spend so much time on Facebook and people will spend so much time on Meta, yet he isn't even the most uh, extroverted person. Why is that?
Yeah. Honestly, I think some people they just they kind of like in their own zone. They kind of like doing their own things. And I think that the idea that people are going to make the metaverse is that people maybe it could be more in a practical way, like maybe there's a contact lens in the future where you can just log into the metaverse. Some people just
Glasses.
want to like escape their lives for a second and just want to play a game or something. And Mark Zuckerberg, I think that he had he pioneered like the first ever successful social media. And you don't I think the idea of someone successful is changing. Like back then you always had to be like extroverted, you always had to like reach out to people, you had to do all that stuff to actually be successful. But now there's like YouTubers being paid millions of dollars and they literally like just make videos in their room
Yep.
They just talk, they just do what they love,
Yeah.
or they even just, or people that like cryptocurrency, they research about cryptocurrencies, but they like don't even like they don't even go not that
Yeah.
but they're not really the most social butterflies. They don't like make that many friends, but they're the ones that are actually the creators. They're the ones that are
Yeah.
doing the stuff. And honestly, I'm not the most extroverted person. I enjoy my own time. I enjoy reading by myself. I enjoy watching movies with my family. And the idea of someone successful is changing. That's what I'm trying to say. The idea of successful people is changing. It's changed from when it was 50 years ago. And I'm actually happy that people, you don't have to be this extrovert guy or girl who just always talks to people, always reaching
Yeah.
out to people. Instead, you could just be at home doing research and maybe invest in cryptocurrency or start a YouTube channel. And I
Yeah.
love how many new opportunities the metaverse is giving to people to make money in different ways.
Yeah, I think the world needs to be so much more accepting of
Mm,
like of different ways of doing things. You know, success now isn't buying average house and raising a family, and you know, and maybe for many people, but it
mm.
isn't just that, right? Like now,
Yeah.
success isn't just having a mediocre job that you kind of like, you know, you don't hate. You have a house that you kind of like, you don't hate. You know, you have a you spend time with friends that you kind of like, you don't hate. Like I think like there's we need to be so much more accepting that success is can
Mm,
be anything, and life can be anything,
exactly.
and being different is a great thing now. Let's talk about another big social media titan that is trying to get into this whole crypto thing, Twitter.
Yeah.
Uh, what's your experience with
Mm.
Twitter?
Well, I've the first ever time I logged into Twitter was in 2019. I honestly I enjoy Twitter because there's a lot of like useful information on there. It can give you like the weekly news. Sometimes it can be toxic on Twitter. That's the thing. I haven't really like been on Twitter until like early 2021, but
Yeah.
I enjoy Twitter because it can give people can have their own opinions. They can share what they think about this, and it's a really good way to get information in my opinion. So that's just my general experience with Twitter so far.
I've been so on and off with Twitter. I have a love hate relationship with them. It's like you can just go on your trending page and find out everything you need to know in like a minute.
Mm,
On the other hand, it could be so addicting, just like wanting to check Twitter anytime.
yeah.
But reason I bring it up, Jack Dorsey, CEO of Twitter, and the whole organization is so optimistic about crypto that they're doing
Hmm.
a lot of things to integrate Twitter with cryptocurrency. They have a new collections tab for everyone out there who has a Twitter, and you see all these celebrities and people with like an ape as their profile picture. Those are called
Yeah.
profile picture NFTs, by the way. And
Mm,
so
yeah.
Twitter is doing a lot to like make sure that those people actually own the NFTs, and also a collections tab so that you can see all of Kamea's NFTs, and you can see
Yeah.
all of my NFTs, and that could be like a thing that you display to the world, right? And then they're also planning to use Bitcoin to do commerce. So they're planning on making it so that just like you can only use the US dollar at Sprouts, you can only use Bitcoin on Twitter, or at least make it, you know, an option. Um, do
Mm.
you think that companies like Twitter, maybe not, I don't know if Instagram is the right person for this because of Facebook, but do you think companies like Twitter, TikTok, what else, Vine, if it's still around, do you think they can really find a way to successfully integrate with blockchain, or are we going to see a replacement where the metaverse and blockchain is going to replace the role of social media companies completely?
That's a very interesting thing to think about, actually, because I think that people are still going to use social media in the years to come, maybe like the next 5, 10, 20 years, possibly. But I think that the faster people integrate crypto and blockchain and metaverse into their company, the better it will grow. Like Facebook already has like spaces, kind of like Clubhouse to talk with, socialize. And they have, you can tip people with Bitcoin on Twitter. And I think that Twitter
Yeah,
is doing a nice job at integrating blockchain and crypto into it. But I think that other companies, like maybe TikTok, could do something where you can get like paid in crypto if you choose. But I
yeah,
think that the faster some companies adapt to the fast changing world, I think the better it is for the world to come. And potentially, yeah, it's definitely possible that social media would get replaced by the metaverse, like VR, maybe contact lenses. But that's if it would be like a pretty long time for it to be replaced, like maybe 10, 15 years. And other thing is the idea of owning your digital labor. Like maybe you could like work for an hour in the metaverse and then you can get paid for it. That's not something most things have these days. Like there's a lot of crypto, like there's a couple crypto things where you
yeah,
can actually mine crypto in a game, but it's not really in any mainstream social medias. And it would be really cool once the metaverse, once Facebook maybe does their thing, it would be absolutely amazing if you could do something for an hour in Facebook and you actually get like
yeah.
tipped in some sort of cryptocurrency.
It would be amazing. I still think social media is. I don't know if you saw that. It's like a Bloomberg thing that talked about how millennials are starting to get bored with Facebook in addition to Gen Z.
Yeah.
Uh, I think it's interesting. I mean, I even could tell myself, I'm sure you might have experienced a little bit of boredom with social media, or
Yeah.
that toxicity, if that's a word.
Yeah.
Just in, a bunch of new news literally came in the past like 3 minutes. Disney has partnered with Vive to launch their own series of NFTs. Vive, as you know, or as you may know, has already done stuff with Marvel. Like they have like
Yeah.
comic book covers. I think the stuff they do is a little more premium, like $1,000, $10,000 moments.
Yeah.
It's going to be like this annual Disney Plus Day, and they have like golden moments with characters and videos and digital golden statues from Disney, Pixar, Marvel, Star Wars, all that good stuff. And then also you get 3 months of Disney Plus free with Vive. And another thing, McDonald's is now coming out with the McRib NFT. So they're bringing back the. I feel like this all sounds like an ad, but it's not. I promise. McDonald's is bringing back the McRib, and they're creating a McRib NFT that's giving out to select fans. And then a third thing, Beeple. Beeple is this huge NFT artist. He's been doing this for like 13 years. He just auctioned off his one of his NFTs for like $69 million. He is preparing to auction off a his physical statue, but and in addition to all of this, I'm sure you might have heard of Mattel, which is creating their NFT car garage where you can like collect physical NFTs uh, of Hot Wheels, and they even give you they ship you a Hot Wheel of certain rarities. What do you make
Wow.
of all these new brands that are entering the NFT space?
I honestly I love it. I haven't heard of the McDonald's or Disney thing yet, but that's so awesome that all these things, like even Gary V was like he was doing V Friends a couple even months before Disney even started doing NFTs. Gary Vee was trying to build his own Disney universe, and Disney is just starting to catch on to this new trend.
Yeah.
And that McRib thing is awesome. And I totally support companies making NFTs to just show who the fans are. If they really love the brand, the like Disney Plus for free for 3 months. I love that, and I'm so excited for multiple other brands to start making things like maybe even Warcraft or Minecraft could do something like that. Fortnite,
Yeah.
Roblox can make their own NFTs. It's just more and more stuff is going to come, and it's just happening so fast, and I'm just so excited. But I got a question for you, Ben. What do you
Yeah.
think what do you think NFTs are going to change your life? Like, how do you think it's going to change your life? Will it change it dramatically? Will it change it not that much? Will it just be like another baseball card? What will it be like?
In terms of like professional career and me as an entrepreneur, I think it's gonna like revolutionize my life. I love the NFT for what it is, the NFT crypto space, but also because it kind of feels like, you hear about the OG internet guys or girls, right? You hear about the OG internet people who are like the people who are in the first few months of the internet, which of course changed the world. And it kind of feels so cool because obviously I wasn't born, you weren't born when when the internet was created, but it's like now we are the Gary V's of the internet, right? And like
Exactly.
we're seeing we're seeing this happening right before our eyes. Literally, I'm not even lying. As we started this, I had no news about Disney or McDonald's. As we were talking, I had my computer open, and this literally just came in. Like
Wow.
NFTs are changing the world by so much happening before our eyes. All the experts said that NFTs are going to become mainstream in 3 5 years. Literally, they're happening right now. Every aspect of our lives, from how we get into events to how we buy sports cards, Candy Digital, NBA Top Shot, the NFL video thing, Disney with their thing, DC with their comic book NFTs, Twitter, Facebook, like Kamea, NFTs are changing everything, and it's just amazing, and that's why the show is so important because everyone listening out there, kids, we are going to be the ones who are going to be the pioneers and the users of this whole space, and I'm in love with it.
Exactly. And me, you, and Ben, me and you, Ben, we want to educate the future generations so they're just prepared for this because it's happening so fast. And the thing about NFTs is that
Yep,
everyone has their special place with the NFTs in the metaverse.
exactly.
Everyone has something special to share. So maybe it's like some sort of song that you wrote. Maybe it's a painting that you made, or maybe it's a piece of art that you made from a sculpture. Everyone has their own special thing to share to contribute to the metaverse, and I think the metaverse definitely is going to be a lot more inclusive because you can make your own digital avatar, and people can't
Yeah,
they can't judge you for how you look or what you are. They are going to see your digital person, and you can build up your whole reputation online, and it's going to be a lot more inclusive, a lot less judging, and whatever you are, if even if you're handicapped, you can do whatever you want in the metaverse because it's unlimited possibilities, and more people are going to be included, more people are going to be less
yeah.
discriminated, and it's going to be a lot of good for the world. NFTs is going to make.
I love it. And that's another thing that you talked about. Like how with NFTs, there's so little judging, and like the communities that are being built here and the community as a whole of NFTs is so positive. I'm sure you're
Yeah.
probably in some discords. I'm in a couple discords like VFriends,
Hmm.
and a few more other important discords. Like the community is just so loving and so positive and so passionate about it, like, and just no judging, like where social media still has a problem about how social media is a lot of judging. Like NFT, the whole
Yes.
NFT space is there's going to be judging is human nature, but it's a lot more positive, like positive judging. Like I can say, Camille, what, you own a CryptoPunk, or you own a VFriend, and there's not going to be
Yeah.
so much, oh, you own a board ape, it's just so much more positive. um let's talk about, there's so many NFT projects out there. There's, go to rarity.io or rarity.tools, and you can see a bunch of projects coming up. And there's so many of these projects. And surely not every one of these can be the next Amazon and eBay's. Do you think the majority of these projects will fail?
Yes, that's definitely. I think if you have a good message, yeah, you have an opportunity, but I think quite a few are definitely might not be the most successful. But the thing that's important is that a lot of people are trying. That's the most important thing, in my opinion, that you're trying to make your own
Yeah.
NFTs. We've made our own NFTs for the Spy Network. We minted a couple NFTs in our accounts. And the main thing that I want to encourage is just try to make an NFT, even if it's a flop, even if it doesn't work. Just make an NFT because
Yeah.
it's just you're so right. The I've been in some crypto chats and they're just so supportive. They're all so nice and they aren't judgy.
Yeah.
Like sometimes Twitter can be super judgy, but all these like what you were saying, you're in
Yeah.
some Discord chats, they're just so passionate about their space that they're so including with everyone, and it's so hard not to be part of such an amazing community. And crypto is something I like to say is that it's like a better version of tribalism, and they have their own little tribe. They have their own group of people that these are like their friends. And there's like many influencers in those little tribes. There's many people that you know, like, oh yeah, I know that guy. He's in this chat or something. And it's just that's the fun thing about crypto is it's just so fun sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so I can't even put it into words how fun this whole thing is. I'm a huge person who loves performance. Like when
Mhm.
or presentation is a better word. Like even if I'm serving waffles, making it look so super nice, putting some blueberries, and like this whole NFT thing is so much about that too. And I love this thing. Now let's get into some hot takes to end this thing off. So there are a ton of happenings with NFTs and cryptocurrency. I wish we'd done this 2 weeks ago when I was super passionate about Matic. Believe me or not, everyone
Yeah.
says these type of things. I was so close to buying a Matic token about two
Yeah.
weeks ago because I'm working on an NFT type thing, and Polygon is so much better than ETH right now because of gas fees and
Hmm.
all that kind of stuff. So I was so close because I put in like $400 into a Coinbase account to buy ETH at 2,700. 20 yeah, 20, it was 2,800. The order is still there. It was placed. The price was 2,830. I wanted it to go down to 2,800. Unfortunately, it never went down. It went to like 2,812, and now it's like 4,000. But believe me or not, I wish we had this earlier because I was calling Matic, 2 weeks ago because I love the technology. Only reason why I didn't like buying it was because of a long term outlook with ETH2. But let's do some hot takes. So, do you think Shiba Inu, the new thing that's up
Hmm.
1,200% in the past
Yeah.
week, you think that's here to last, or is gonna have its moment and then die down like Doge?
One thing I would like to say is kind of be careful with Shiba because just remember I'm not a financial advisor. I'm just a kid. And don't buy it now. Don't buy the top. Right now is the top of the bull market. It's like super bullish right now. Don't buy it right now. One really good analogy I like to say is by Benjamin Graham, who was actually the mentor to Warren Buffett, and he describes it as Mr. Market.
Yep.
And Mr. Market,
Value
first of all,
investing.
he's very emotional. Wait, I actually have the book right here, The Intelligent Investor by Benjamin Graham.
The intelligent
And
investor.
yes, and the thing about it is he's super emotional. In the stock market, sometimes he's super depressed and he makes something go super down,
Yeah.
or he's super happy and he just makes something go up. In the crypto market, he's kind of like crazy. Like he's super crazy. When he sees something, he's like, "Whoa, that's awesome!" He's like so crazy, and he just makes it go up.
Yeah.
But the thing about Mr. Market is that he is not there to tell you what to do. He's there to serve you, and that's something you have to keep in mind. And remember that if you don't buy today, he'll always be back. He'll could be back with a different price. He'll be back with something else to tell
Yep.
you about. Another thing is another good analogy is it's not about timing the market, it's about time in the market. So if you're trying to get into Shiba to make a quick buck, be careful because Warren Buffett's strategy is
Mhm.
he makes one trade like every year or like every 2 years. And then he just holds it for a super long
Yeah.
time.
The long term.
And that's yeah, long term. He thinks about the long term, not the short term. That's why being a trader is sometimes unhealthy because you just look at charts all day long, all night, just waiting for the perfect dip. Then you get in, and then
Yeah.
you make a quick buck, and then you change it, and then you buy another crypto. It's an infinite loop. But when you just hold it, or when you hodl, it's a lot more because you just do nothing. You just leave it in that account and check up on it maybe in like a couple months, years, and that's
Yeah.
something I would just like to give about Shiba. I just think Shiba is kind of like a super fast Dogecoin, like a super pumped Dogecoin. And one of the big things that I would like to point out is that Shiba has a million tweets and it's trending. It's been trending for like the past week or two. It has like a million tweets all about Shiba. That's like the most I've seen in a while.
Yep.
And that's why I would like to say if you're thinking about buying and it's going to go to the moon, be super careful because right now it could be the start of the bear market. Everything looks super nice right now. Be careful. That's what I'd like to say. Do your research and remember, I'm not a financial advisor.
Yeah, I mean, I there's I always like flipping stuff, like quick flips, but
Mhm.
just it's really stressful and also super risky. But like long
Yeah.
term, even if you have to pay fees, even if the price is $10 more than you want to pay, if you really are invested in the long term prospect of it, going from buying an ETH at $3,500 versus $3,550 makes really no difference if the price is $10,000 in a year.
Yeah.
And by the way, just as we're talking about this, guess what's trending on Twitter?
I don't know. Maybe you can tell me, Ben.
Ready Player One is trending on Twitter, 5,000 tweets in the last hour.
Wow.
And everyone's talking about the Zuck. Next hot take. All right. So um,
Hmm.
there are a ton of like sports cards, NBA Top Shot, the new NFL thing, the MLB cards. There's Mattel with the Hot Wheels NFTs, the Disney NFTs, uh, the whole thing with that. Are those companies doing everything right with NFTs? Like, are they making a mistake jumping into it so quick when there's not too much utility, or are people going to treat these like they treat sports cards as just a collectible?
So I'm into NBA Top Shots because I'm a huge fan of Michael Jordan. He's just so awesome. He's the GOAT. And the thing about Disney is that they're a billion-dollar brand. And even if they're doing it wrong, maybe they're
Yeah,
going too early, maybe they're doing everything wrong. Trust me, they're going to figure it out. Disney is going to figure this out because they
yeah.
have been known in the past to figure it out. And that's something I would just like to give to the listeners. If you ever are doing them, just they'll figure it out no matter. Maybe it can take them a year, months, days. They are gonna figure out this NFT thing and they're gonna do it right. And make sure to bet on strong brands. And Disney is one of the biggest brands.
I hear a lot, and I believe in this, in that with NFTs, it's all about the people slash their brands. Like how
Mm,
if you want to know how an athlete's gonna do, Kobe Bryant. A lot of his stuff pops up on my phone, and how he wasn't the best basketball player in ninth and 10th grade. It was only because he woke up every day at 4 a.m. and
yeah.
practiced for like 5 hours a day that he became super good. And so even though he wasn't statistically good, he had that chip on his shoulder. And I hear a ton about why NFTs is betting on the people, even if the art doesn't look amazing. If the person is your little sister or your nephew, you're gonna buy it, even if the project is doing bad right now. If the person behind it is Gary Vee, chances are you might buy it if you know who that is. So do you
Yeah.
think that this whole NFT space in crypto is going to be based on the people behind it?
Yeah, I definitely think it's going to definitely be behind the people that are actually developing it. Like, I like this analogy that I have. It's where you may have some talent, but if you aren't a hard worker as well with that talent, you aren't going to get far. Like, you have to put in the work. And anyone with natural talent will always be beaten by the
Yeah,
hard worker, like that Kobe Bryant that wakes up every day at like 4 a.m. or that works all the time.
yeah.
You'll always be beaten. Like, you can only rely on talent for so long. Eventually, you're going to have to put in the work. And I bet those brands that have all the hard work. They're always working all the time. They wake up early and they always are working on their project. They are definitely going to get ahead than the ones that maybe or like, oh, they just went up. Luckily, that might be just luck and they might just go down. Maybe the thing isn't a good idea. Like Ethereum even. it's went through many hard times where it was called a
Yep.
scam, all that stuff. But Vitalik and the team, they always were just working on it, and they were just very hard workers. And now it's the second biggest cryptocurrency with a giant market cap. So that's what I just like to say: bet on the jockey, not the horse.
Our last our last hot take here is with Apple. Apple and a lot of Microsoft, even those companies aren't doing a ton with metaverse. Apple doesn't believe in the
Mhm.
metaverse. In fact, Tim Cook talked about how he believes in AR a lot more than he does VR in the metaverse.
Mm.
Do you think, and I guess it's more of a question of when, I think they will get involved at some point. When will we see a glimmer of NFT crypto optimism from the big guys?
I think they are going to. Apple is gonna. Apple, I bet Apple thinks that they can block people out of their little world, but the thing about that is they're going to eventually have to do this because they're the billion-dollar brands. They're like the big guys.
Yeah.
And they're always skeptical at first, but I bet they're going to have to eventually, they're definitely confirmed 100%. They're going to have to get into the metaverse because that is the future of the internet, in my opinion. The metaverse is the future. That's just what I have to say. Metaverse is the future, and they're going to have to get into the metaverse eventually. And the other thing is that if they don't get in, they're gonna just lose then because Facebook it's doing a really good decision getting into the metaverse early. Like there was even news reports back in like May about Facebook thinking about the metaverse, and now they're actually taking action. They now have a parent brand of Facebook and Instagram called Meta. They turned those words into action. And that's why I just like to say they're eventually going to have to get in. Metaverse is the future. These digital currencies, crypto is the future. It is. And Metaverse is just the next stage of that, the blockchain, all that stuff. And that's just my hot take on this.
All right, let's try something also one more time. Let's each come up with a prediction for the next either week, 2 weeks,
Ooh,
or up
okay.
to a month. Uh,
Okay.
I'll start first. My prediction is that within two, I would hope, maybe three or four. I think before December, worst case scenario, before the end of the year, we're gonna see a big Gen Z figure like Olivia Rodrigo, like Charlie D'Amelio. My prediction is that before November-ish, December-ish, at most before December, we're going to see a big Gen Z figure release an NFT project, and then everyone's just gonna swarm up on creating MetaMask, opening up open
Oh,
seas. I think it'll go from we're here. It's the calm before. It's not calm right now at all, but it's the
yeah.
relative calm before the storm. Like we're already going like this. It's just gonna go like horizontal or vertical almost.
Yeah. That is, I totally agree with that. I think it might even happen sooner. Like someone
Yeah,
like Olivia Rodrigo or even like those TikTokers, they are definitely going to release an NFT. Even Shaquille O'Neal, all those big people, they're even
she already
releasing their
has
own
one.
NFTs. And it's only a matter of time until they have to catch on. And yeah, I totally agree with that. That's definitely going to happen. But only time can tell. And I'm excited to see what's
What's
going to
your
happen.
prediction? And it doesn't have to be NFTs. It could be
Okay,
cryptos,
let's see.
crypto or NFTs.
Hmm. Once that happens, I bet it will. Once people like those big singers or something are going to make those NFTs, I think that's going to signal the top of the bull market, in my opinion. And a bunch of music is probably going to come out, NFTs, all that stuff. But when that happens, it's probably going to be the peak of the bull market, and then you know what is next to come. So that's what my prediction is. It's gonna be the peak of the bull market. Everything's gonna be looking good, but then it's gonna probably tank a healthy amount. That's just my prediction when that
So,
happens.
so are the kids who, people like my sister, people 90% of teens out there, who
Mhm.
love these people and are gonna buy these NFTs, are they all gonna get burned out by this when they're buying into all this hype and then watch everything kind of just fall?
Well, the thing about it is like markets, they love to dump on newcomers. And the one thing that I'd like to say is don't lose hope. When it's all bloody, when it's all red, when everyone's losing hope, there's something that I really love to look at is the Wall Street cheat sheet. And the thing about that is when you look at that, you see how people are so excited. They're like, I'm a genius, we're all gonna be rich. And then they it's about timing the market, not timing the market. That's main thing that I would like to say. Once it's at the peak, just wait for it to fall because eventually it has to come back within the next bull market, which might be in the next month, like a year, 3 years. Like the bear market for Bitcoin was like at 2 years. So it's just a matter of time in the market, not timing the
Yeah.
market because it's super hard timing the market. Like it's honestly like a bunch of all nighters to time the market. But when it dips, when it's all bloody, that is when the time is to buy because then you know that people are going to be doubtful, but
Yeah.
then that's when you make some profits.
I'm looking at it right now. You can search it up. Wall Street cheat sheet. It's kind of funny, uh, and very true. So I want to also make sure that we're getting everyone out there slowly and
Yeah.
slowly ready by taking baby steps. So let's take baby steps with everyone listening. Kamea, uh,
Mhm.
by the end of the year, we want everyone here to be knowledgeable and ready to get into NFTs. What's the first thing they should
Exactly.
do right after, or even while they're listening to this podcast? What should they do right after? What's the first easy baby steps?
I think some easy baby steps is just check out make just check out some of my videos, learn more about crypto, get a pretty nice depth of understanding, and then do some research, maybe look into some NFT projects, get make sure to read. There's a bunch of good books about crypto, all that stuff. They're timeless. And just do your research and make sure to do a lot of research because it takes a long time. Like it took me a lot of time to actually get ready and to learn about all this stuff. It takes so many times and make sure to think about these projects. And if you're watching this video and you have questions and you can't find anything good online, you can always ask us questions. And that is just some advice that I would give to listeners right to do right after this.
This was amazing. I hope you all learned something from this episode. If you would like to ask us any questions, if you need some help with anything, feel free to DM us. It's CryptoCoinKid for Kamea or official Benjamin Wong, official Kid CEO for me. And just feel free to DM us and we'll be sure to include it in the next episode. Thank you so much for listening. Kamea, any last words?
Thank you all for listening. Make sure to tune in for next week's episode.
See you all soon.